Determination to change the nation, I'm manifesting the truth. Back in the booth to give you the messages that's been channeling right through me. No, I'm not Jesus, although my spirit is great. I'm eating my food without a plate, escaping this place through my meditations. New life begun when I reloaded the gun and realized where I was from was not too far from the sun, like somewhere close by the moon. Now I'm connected like Zoom. On walks of life that ever lived, call me like out of the blue. So I just pass it to you, right through your speakers with clues. And if you choose to free your mind, then you will have all the tools. But I can't make you take it and shake it and mentally break yourself out. Cause freeing your mind without a doubt is something you have to try out. But once you see the light, your might, and all the power you've had, then you have reached the fifth dimension and you can brighten your path. But others who choose to follow the red pills, it's harder to swallow. Or you can wallow in your sorrows, feeling all empty and hollow. The only way you'll see the truth is if it's starting with you. So please stop lying to yourself, start being truthful to you. The only way you'll see the truth is if it's starting with you. So please stop lying to yourself, start being truthful to you, to you.
Yo, what's happening, people? Man, hey, what's happening to everybody on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook? I appreciate y'all joining in. I'm gonna try my best to keep up with the Instagram chat because most of the time trying to keep up with two chats and I'll be missing comments. But today I want to definitely make sure I'm getting everybody's comments and stuff. Yeah, so we are joined by a special guest and a special co-host. That's right. We got a special co-host in the building today. So yeah, if you read the title, it's A Mother's Strength with Tabitha Manning. I had to get that A right. I had Tabi. I'm like, wait a minute, it's Tabitha. Tabba, not Tabby. So I fixed it. And so yeah, we got Tabitha Manning here, and she's joining us to give us a little strength, give us all a little love, and talk to us about a mother's strength and how she is still dealing with 12 years later her child being taken away. And if you don't know the story, I'm gonna just give you a brief I'll give you a brief little update, and then after that we are going to bring her in. Okay.
Well, on this day in 2014, a crime that broke the hearts of many people and still hurts today. Peyton Benson was killed by a stray bullet while she was eating breakfast inside of her Omaha home. She was only 5 years old. It was a drive-by shooting. The bullets were meant for a rival gang member. Several men were sentenced for their roles. The shooter, Vincent Hicks, received 65 years in prison.
Yeah. So, yeah. Without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Mommy Tabitha Manning. There she is. Hey, Tabitha.
Hi, Sherman. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man. Thanks for being here. I really, really appreciate and applaud you for even coming forward, wanting to speak on your story, your baby, your daughter, your incident. And I'm glad that I was the one that was chosen to do that with you. I really, really, really admire your courage and your everything that you display as a mom, but also just as a person. You're a very warm person, and I'm glad that you're here with us today. So we are here to speak to you about 12 years later, and the tragedy that changed your life with your baby. But I'm gonna give you a chance to introduce yourself and whatever you want to say first, and then we'll go into it.
Okay, so hi, I'm Tabitha. I am this beautiful little girl's mother. That video that Sherman played at the intro still breaks my heart today. The breaking news story. Every time I try to tell my story, I end up right back in that day. And sometimes it's hard for me to get out of it. But I have come a very long, long way in my personal journey. And I'm here to talk about the different types of things that victims experience in a crisis and in a trauma, and how I was able to try to kind of pull my family through that so that we could be happy and healthy together.
Man. Wow. Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you again, like I said, joining us to even talk about this. And yeah. So I guess I got a few questions myself before I start taking questions from people. I do want to know, like, when you were pregnant with Peyton, how was your pregnancy, and how was you feeling and everything once you carried your child?
It was a pretty normal pregnancy. I was in denial for the first half of it because I already had two kids, and I got pregnant with her pretty much immediately after I had the second baby. So I was in denial for most of the pregnancy, but no complications, no emotional. I don't feel like I was extremely emotional during the pregnancy with her. Uh, I do remember the birth of her, though. I went to the hospital. That I usually love thunderstorms, especially a good thunderstorm. And for some reason that night, the storm was scary. So I gave birth to Peyton. I can't remember what time it was. But that night I stayed overnight in the hospital, and the thunder was rolling, the storm was going, and it was a bad storm, but I could hear all the moms around me that were giving birth to their own babies.
Wow.
Screaming in pain, and it scared me, and I felt like it was going to be a rough life with her for some reason that night. That scared me, but it was a normal pregnancy. Everything went well. No complications. She didn't have any problems when she was born. She was a normal, healthy baby girl, and she was adorable. That face on a baby, it was adorable.
Definitely. And so then, like you said, you remember the birth, and then her as a baby. I mean, you only had 5 short years. What was her character like as a baby?
She was a normal baby girl.
Yeah.
So I spoiled all my kids when they were born. I held them as much as possible. They slept next to me until they were 2. And for different reasons. One of the reasons was because we didn't have an apartment big enough to have for everyone to have their own room. And she was my third baby. But when she was born, I had a 2-bedroom apartment and 3 babies. So we had to. But she was a normal baby girl. She liked helping, try to rape. By the time she was walking and talking, she liked trying to help. She wanted to be the mom. She wanted to do everything that I wanted to do. She wanted to mimic me. She wanted to do her hair, her makeup, and get dressed up. And then when her younger brother was born, she started dressing him up. He would come out the room wearing her shoes, wearing her princess dresses. She was trying to put grease in his hair to do his hair. She was excited to go to school. She did have a little bit of a temper. But only when her brothers messed with her. If they came crying, telling me that she did something to hurt them, I always asked them what they did to her first.
Yeah,
she was tough like that. So yeah, she wanted her purses, her bags. Yeah.
She wanted her purses and her bags. Yeah, and like you said, I know. I mean, I don't know. I can only imagine. But being able to talk about this and even bringing it up, I know. It's touchy, so I can only imagine. But again, I applaud your strength for even being able to do this. So I do want you to get a chance to just talk about the incident from your perspective. Like, you was there, It happened while you was there. You was there. It was your incident. From your perspective that morning, how was things going, and what happened?
So I woke up that morning and I took the kids to so we were late. I'm not a punctual person sometimes. We were late. The two oldest boys were in school. The two youngest were still at home with me on a daily basis until I went to work. Then they went to daycare. So I woke up, I took the two oldest kids to school and brought the two youngest kids home, made them breakfast, and we were sitting down. Me and Peyton were sitting in the living room watching Word World on a TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard a loud noise, and I looked at Peyton, and when I looked at her, she was leaning her head back, reaching for her throat. And when she was reaching for her throat, the blood just started spilling out. And I'm very spiritual. So my first thought was God is going to step in and do something about this. Because the amount of blood that she was losing was very fast. And it was a lot of blood. So I started screaming, running around the living room, looking for my phone. And my Xavier was there too. Her younger brother was 3 going on 4 at the time. He was there too. And he got up and did the same exact thing that I was doing. So I stopped. I paused, I caught my breath, and I picked her. I had to stop her from falling because she was falling over. So I stopped, I caught her in the middle of her fall. I picked her up, put her over my shoulder, and I walked outside. Let me quit playing. I walked outside with her on my shoulder, screaming for help. I was going to rush her to the hospital, but I couldn't because the tire on my van was flattened. That was the loud noise we heard, was the bullet piercing the tire on the van. And then the police rode down the street. I did CPR while we were waiting for the ambulance. And then the ambulance came and took her to the hospital. While I was waiting for the escort to the hospital, I asked a family member to call the family because he lived down the street. He just happened to be there at the time. And then by the time I got to the hospital, the whole family was there. There was a whole bunch of community leaders there. And we cried so much. My shirt was covered in blood. I'm pretty sure Ben was irritated with me because he had to ask me at least 10 times to take that shirt off because it was covered in blood and put a different shirt on. By the time I got to the hospital, though, the surgeon was already ready to calling me in a room. I'm so sorry. We did everything we could. We could not save her life. We stayed in that emergency room. That incident, the shooting happened at like 9:45 in the morning. We stayed in that emergency room together as a family, crying and praying until it was time to get the boys from school at 3:05.
Wow. Man. And so, man, picking up those other kids to tell them, and then you got to explain to them what happened. And you still processing what happened. Like that experience. Talk about that part.
I didn't even get to tell the boys that were at school what happened. They came in the door and Xavier, the youngest one, told them before I could tell them what happened. And he just said Peyton got shot. And my oldest boy looked at me. He said, Mom, he just told me Peyton got shot. Tell him he's a liar. And I had to break him the bad news that he's telling the truth. She got shot. She passed away. She is never coming home again. And that was hopefully will be the most difficult thing I will ever have to tell my boys again for the rest of their lives. So when I told them, the oldest one ran straight upstairs and ran to his grandma, bawling, and gave her a big old hug. I the 3-year-old knew what was happening, but I don't think that he had the emotional capacity to process it at such a young age. And Latrell was 6. So he understood what was happening, but I also feel like he was trying to, I feel like he was stuck in denial, like he was trying to ignore it, like it was going to change the next day or something was going to magically fix it soon enough that he wouldn't have to face the emotions to deal with it.
Wow. Yeah. And you see what Miss Wagner said. She said we needed to hear her story. Everyone needs to hear this story. I heard for your family hearing this. Yeah. And that's exactly why when she asked, of course, there was no hesitation. This is exactly what Sermons with Sherman is about, is providing a platform, a safe place for our community to be able to tell their stories. A lot of the times you do news interviews and you just get those quick second clips. You never really get to get in depth. And so that grieving process with your family, with your children, man, I mean, it's 12 years later, but we still remember it. I mean, how was that for you guys?
So my personal grieving process was physically painful. I couldn't move. The only time that I got up to get dressed, do my hair, take care of myself was when I was at an event or doing an interview for at least the first 6 months after her murder. Besides that, my heart was pounding like I was running a marathon on a daily basis. My head hurt so bad that I wanted to take my brain out and set it on like my head was just throbbing the whole time. I could, when I was getting ready to get up to do something, sometimes I had to actually physically lift my legs up and put them one in front of the other so that I could start, like I had to jump start myself to get up and be able to move. I didn't want to eat. The PTSD it took several minutes for this whole process to happen the morning that it happened. But the PTSD was worse because that takes 1 to 2 seconds to replay the entire scenario in your head every time it replays. And it was on constant replay every day for at least a year and a half. That was very, very painful. And then there was, hold on, I took some notes here. So with the boys caused more pain too. I couldn't focus on the boys. I wanted to lay down and die. I wanted to stop eating and just slowly die of this pain. With the boys, they made it harder because they were in pain too. And they were coming to me saying things that caused me more pain. My oldest came to me once and said she doesn't know I loved her because the last time I talked to her, I was yelling at her. And I had to remind him that even though you yelled at her the last time you saw her or talked to her, I yell at you all the time. And I still love you. And you know that. So I had to say things like I had to pull them out of that darkness. It should have been me instead. All of my boys have said that. It should have been me instead. It would have been just as devastating for the entire family, no matter which one of you it was. It doesn't matter. I can't sleep because I miss my sister. Do you know how many nights they slept next to me? And I have a quilt that we made of her clothes. And when they came to me and said, I can't sleep because I miss my sister, I would wrap them up in that quilt and we would cry together until we all went to sleep.
Wow.
And Xavier saw me looking at a picture of her on a computer one night at 3 years old, and immediately his bottom lip got pushed out and tears started flowing down his face. And as a mother, that makes everything worse because you want to fix it for them, but you know that you have to help them process those emotions because there's nothing else that you can really do, right? We wish that things were different, but we have to accept what happened to process so we can process those feelings and move forward. Isaiah, yeah. And then, so as they got older, we all started counseling. Family counseling with my middle son. The first time we sat down, he was angry at me. And he hit puberty and started fighting at school right away. As soon as he hit that spot, he started fighting at school. We sat down in counseling together, and he had a safe space to tell me how he was really feeling. And he told me he felt like I wasn't there for him when his sister was killed, that I wasn't there to comfort him. And he cussed me out for it. And by this was 2022. So by this point, I had already processed most of my emotions. I had already sat down and had an in-person apology. So I was pretty comfortable with myself, and I was comfortable with him expressing himself in this way. So I sat and I listened, and I ended up apologizing to him for my behavior and for my lack of action, or his perceived lack of action on my end, and promised that we were going to do better and that I would do everything that I could to pull him through that. And you know what I learned in listening to my kids when they express their emotions, especially as they started getting older, the kids feel the same way the parents do, or the adults do. They have the same exact thoughts, the same exact feelings, the same exact emotions, and they just don't know how to express it right. So listening to them and creating those safe spaces for them is very, very important and very difficult, especially in the beginning. Because maybe I did neglect my kids in the beginning, but I was, Latrell came to me and asked me once, because I disappeared after Peyton died. I disconnected from my family. And I went and I hibernated for about a month after Peyton was killed in a hotel room so that I could fight God. And he came and asked me why I left him like that. And the truth is because I was on the verge of taking my own life, and I didn't want them to see me like that. I didn't want them to see me when I was feeling so weak that they were part of my triggers. Seeing my boys, being around my boys after my daughter was killed triggered me, because there's supposed to be 4 of you and there's only 3. I had a girl and now she's gone.
Wow. Man, I'm just taking in everything you just said. I guess I never looked at it from the standpoint of the child, saying I felt neglected after our sister died, and then but you still have to deal with you and your child, and then feeling worthy to live.
Feeling worthy as a mother.
Yeah.
As a mother, that 5-year-old was mine to take care of. She was mine to protect. She was living in my house. And, losing a child is something that no parent ever wants to go through. And it's hard. Like, you realize your own mortality. You realize that you're not as strong as we wish that love was, strong enough to save them in that situation. It was strong enough to bring them back to life.
Mother strength indeed, because man, I do want to talk about like the advocacy for other victims or other mothers. And for this segment, I want to bring in our special guest co-host, Brother Jahi Shabazz. How you doing, sir?
Hotep family, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, I wanted to bring you in for this part of the conversation. After Tabitha talks about like the advocacy for victims, like what do it look like? And then like in her space, her type of advocacy, or then what kind of advocacy did she need or did she get at that time? And then from you, I want to know, as men or other people in the community, what kind of advocacy can we provide for people when they go through this type of situation? So Tabitha, you first. What the advocacy part like for you, or during that time, was it there, and how did you feel, or do you think you can provide advocacy for other mothers at this time?
The advocacy was definitely there. The community support was there. Jahi actually stayed on the phone with me every day for, I thought it was 6 months, but I feel like it was a lot longer than that. Just talking me through the feelings and the emotions and helping me process everything down up to and including the way that my life changed at that point. So I advocate for forgiveness 100% because it helped pull me through. The forgiveness was strong enough that the hopelessness I was able to process that hopelessness. I was able to process the anger. I was able to process. It helped me because it provided strength in itself. Forgiveness provided strength in itself in the way that I was able to step back and look at myself and say, listen, you decided the day of the murder that you were going to walk in forgiveness. And that is where you are powerful. And that is where you get to take your steps forward. That is the path that you chose. So I will always advocate for forgiveness, but also in the 12 years that, it's been a long time, all of the apologies that have come in, I think I have 3 written apologies and 2 in-person apologies. I went and saw Vincent Hicks in a prison in person so that he could apologize face to face. Those apologies lifted, when I processed the emotions down, I compartmentalized all of the negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions, especially towards them specifically. I processed all of that down and put it in compartments and held on to it. And when they apologized, the first apology took away the guilt, and I felt like I was light as a feather when I walked out of the room. And then the second in-person apology, I was able to put all of the negative emotions on the table and say the anger is yours, the fear is yours, the shame is yours, the guilt is yours. Take all this back. None of this belongs to me. And it worked out well because I feel like healing really came through full circle. But the community helped a lot with the initial grieving process too, because all of the support, all of the love, all of the hugs, all of the "you're so strong," all of the donations, everything that came in, all of the support up to and including from the Omaha Police Department, all of that helped fighting the negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions too, because I was able to hear those voices while I was going through the PTSD and all of the shame and the guilt and all of that of my own.
Yeah. So the advocacy was there. And then, for you advocating for other mothers, kind of what do you think that's going to look like, or does that look like for a person, or what would you, say as far as that for advocacy?
For advocating for other mothers, I am here to offer any kind of support I can to anyone that needs help working through their own grief, working through their own process. I was able to heal because I chose my path. I chose forgiveness, and then I found my tools that I had inside myself, which is the love, the strength, the faith, the forgiveness, the empathy, the compassion. All of those are me. I can help you try to find out, pinpoint exactly where you're at if you need help with that. And then I can help try to find your own tools that you can use in your own process so you can try to get out of your own grief.
Wow. And we appreciate you for that. I mean, I know people here 12 years, they think it's a long time, but I remember it like it was yesterday. And like you said, it might have been 6 months y'all was on the phone, but it might have been longer than that because time stands still when you're in those situations.
It does.
Well, Brother Jahi, advocacy for gun victims, gun violence victims. So she mentioned that you stayed on the phone with her. Why did you feel like it was necessary for you to be there during that time for grief and the tragedy?
Well, because, the grief which all hearts share grows less for one. And so it was, I mean, it just felt like it was a major loss for the whole community.
Man.
And what was really impactful about it for me personally was how senseless it was. You
Yeah.
know, to be within the confines of your own home and sitting there as a family doing the normal things that families do. And the madness and the ignorance that runs rampant throughout the community invades your house. You know, it just at that time, you know, it really it hurt me personally because it felt like it was like the whole community had a major loss, man, major loss. And one of the things that we have to do, brother, as men, particularly that particular time, man, I felt that the men in the community abandoned their posts, man. Because we have to understand, man, that a child's mind is like a tabula rasa. It's like wet clay, and we can mold it into anything. And we have to be very careful of what message we give to our children because they'll give that message to the world. Okay. So those two young men, you know, those gangbangers out there, they didn't intend to do it, but because of their state of mind and how their psyche was destroyed, they were out there trying to destroy themselves and end up taking her child's life incidentally. And so it's like a triangle of despair and self-hatred.
Self-hatred.
You
know, I'm glad you said that because you know, when you said it affected the whole community, and for some of us, I don't know why God made us this way, but when something happened to people that we don't even know, it still pulls you in so much, and it feels like it was one of yours, even though the person who's actually experiencing it, that's the person who really is taking, you know, feeling the loss. But for me, when I see children victims, I take it personal. I do. And like you said, it felt like the men have left their post, and not just in North Omaha, but in the Black community, because we see so much things that's going around that if men stepped up, we could probably get, you know, in some of this stuff. I do want to bring up what Paulina just said. Paulina just lost her oldest son. And she said that when Tabitha mentioned how the kids feel and think the same as adults, that statement instantly helped me as a mother of 5 grieving babies, how to support them through this process of losing their brother. So thank you. And I want to make sure I pointed that out because Tabitha, that's exactly why we're doing this right now. So other mothers can gain some strength from what you were saying. And that's why it's important for, like Ms. Wagner said earlier, for us to hear it from you, because this was your experience. And you said the community support. How about your family support? How was that during that time?
So the family support in the beginning was amazing. Like I said, everybody was at the hospital. I was expecting to walk into the hospital and be blamed for everything, if I'm being quite honest. To walk in and, you know, they immediately look at me like I'm the bad guy, because that's how I felt about myself, not because that's how, you know, I felt like they felt about me. So the family support in the very beginning was amazing. And we actually ended up staying at a relative's house after Peyton got killed. But the families when we're grieving as a unit, things can get difficult to process together as a whole because we don't always agree. I said I forgive you. Not everyone agreed with me on that. So we had to learn how to set boundaries and agree to disagree on some things so that we could keep the family together as much as possible, while also not causing more harm to each other.
Yeah. When you say keep the family together, it's I don't know why, but every single time a tragedy happens, we do turn on each other. We separate. It's a lot. And like you said, you expected to walk in and get blamed for everything, you know. And I actually just made a video about that. I caught a little slack, but I was saying, and it was actually an old video. I just reposted it about fathers being a part of, you know, the child's life, and sometimes it seemed like it's just all on the mom. And so when you say walk in and I'm gonna get the blame, like it's terrible that you had to feel like, you know, as the mom, now everything is on me. It's my fault, you know. And then keeping the family together is tough because I've been on both sides where we're the victim in the family or our family has done something and it's still always some kind of fallout, you know. And so the family support is important, and then having the community support. But then, you know, here we are 12 years later, all the lights and the camera and the support and the people is gone, and Tabitha is still left to deal with this, you know. And so that's why I felt like it was important once I talked to her and then met up with her, and still to see her strength right now. Um, a mother's strength was the only title I could come up for today's show because that's what I got from you, you know, seeing you upright, head up, you know, smiling, eyes there. You know, sometimes you look at people's face and you don't see a soul, a spirit no more. And I'm just happy that you're there and you're able to share. And then somebody like Paulina, who just went through this, can still get something from you. That's just beautiful. Jahi, I do want to know, like, from your perspective in the Black family, do you think we're supporting enough? And what type of support or what should support look like from your family in these types of situations?
Well, the major variable, man, in the Black family,
Mm,
people are arrested in their development. And so we have children having children. Um, we have males masquerading as men. And then we have uh, a matriarchal system, most of us, where the mother in the house has to take on both roles.
man. And you know it's so messed up because then as a mother, you're naturally the nurturer, right? But then you got to be the disciplinarian. Then it's like them sons, them daughters, they like, she, you know, and the next thing you know, they don't like you because you got to discipline them, but you also the one who got to love on them. And that's what makes it easier when you got both parties, because then you can get them and then let me just hug them and kiss on them, you know. But as a single mom, and like she said, Jasmine said, we get daggers thrown at us. She said they need somebody to blame, and it's always blaming the moms. But you know, Jahi, you make a good point where you say, you know, you got, what'd you say, men masquerading? No, what did you say? Masquerading as men? Hit me with it again.
Males masquerading as
Males masquerading as men. What's the difference, brother?
well. The difference is, brother. First of all, man means mine, and so all males don't emerge psychologically as men.
Mm.
And we also have to take in mind that our household and the dysfunctionality and the crippling state of our family unit is also not our fault.
Mm.
And so the power structure as a whole understands that the family unit is the place where we'll all be developed into human beings. And so if you have an environment that's disrupted, then that environment, the family unit, is not going to develop psychologically healthy human beings. And so we have males who reach a certain age and their instincts tell them that they're at war. And their instincts also tell them that they need to do something. But psychologically, they're children. And so what do? We take shortcuts. I'm gonna commit a crime. I remember brother being 16 years old and selling drugs because I used to know when the bills would come because my mother would be in the room sometimes crying because she couldn't pay the bills. And so I was like 15, 16 years old. I knew that there was a problem that I needed to respond to, but I didn't know how to properly respond to it. And so I went out and took a shortcut. I went and sold some drugs and then gave my mother some money and got her a car. I said, Mama, now you can get to work.
To support your mama.
Mm-hmm. And so what happens is, just like with children, when they are psychologically abused or molested, they develop multiple personalities as a result of that, so they can distance themselves psychologically from the constant trauma and the inability to interpret what's happening to them, and also to try to balance the constant trauma of what they're experiencing, and they don't know how to deal with it. And so
go ahead.
And so we all go through that phase. And so what we have in our household, the system is set up where they want a female to be the head of the household. That makes your household a soft target. If she has to work, if she has to discipline, she has to do everything. That allows the male to masquerade as a man, and he can be a boy forever.
Wow.
And then he can masquerade as a man by doing biological functional things like eating and having sex.
Right.
But he is not psychologically equipped to make the proper adjustments to make sure that everybody is economically safe. Everybody is psychologically healthy.
Right.
And that's why we see that, like in the incident with her child, they were boys outside masquerading as men. They thought that masculinity means I can use violence as a language.
Right.
When in fact,
and that definitely ain't the way.
In fact, when you psychologically mature as a man, you'll diffuse violence.
Right.
Because violence takes time, it takes energy, and you cannot always control the outcome of it.
Right. And then so expecting support when that's what our community and our families is, it can be tough.
Like those young men, where were their parents at?
You talking about the man that killed Peyton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sat down with a couple of them, and I don't think Vincent didn't have a rough upbringing. He moved to Omaha at a young age and was taken away from a family that he knew and brought into a new environment. But the way that I understand it, I know he had his mother in the picture. I didn't ask about if his father was in the picture, but from what he told me, he was a healthy environment. Yeah. I didn't get too deep into it with him though. When I went to see him, I went to talk to him about what he did to me more than who are you as a person.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Tabitha. It seemed like it moved pretty quick as far as finding the people responsible, but what is your from your perspective, because this is what it's about, is you. I want to know, what is your perspective of how the police handled it from the moment it happened and then, to the arrest? Were you in constant communication? Was it, what was the experience for you like?
So it was. I think that the police did a great job with Peyton. I was impressed by Chief Schmatter's first press conference the night she was murdered. I did. He earned some trust and respect from me when he, had his first press conference, and they did keep in touch pretty well. They called me. They arrested the men 2 weeks later, and I got a call at 6 o'clock in the morning from, I think it was Ryan. Ryan was the lead detective on it. And they told me on the phone at first that they had found her murderer, or made the arrest. And I was not, at that point, I was so stuck on forgiveness that I was not interested in justice at all. So I was so nonchalant about it that they called back and they said, we're going to come over to the house and we're going to talk to you about this in person. And when they came to the house to talk to me about it in person, I feel like I had an attitude with the police. I feel like I was in the wrong when it came to the relationship with the police. And they still stayed there. They still stayed in touch. They still supported the family. They still had their own fundraisers for the family. And they kept in communication all the way up through all of the trials and everything. I feel like they did a great job, and I was a little out of touch with reality, and I was a little broken, and I was running off of emotions that I had from prior experiences with the police when Peyton's murder happened.
Yeah. And so let me ask you, do you think they was on it because of her age, or just because it was a murder in general?
I think
or because of high publicity too?
Well, I think that, okay, so I think that it hurt everyone in the community the same when Peyton got killed. And she was the first murder of the year too. I do remember that in Chief Schmatter's press conference. And I think that they're just fed up with the murders, especially now that, this, and everybody is somebody's baby. I would never take away from anybody's age of anyone that was murdered. Everybody is somebody's baby. Right. But I think that it did hit a little different because she was 5 years old and she was eating breakfast in her home.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So I'm glad that you had that positive experience. I know that sometimes in our community, everybody don't get that same experience when it comes to murders, and we sometimes have to investigate ourselves. I think when there was a video from last year of Jahi getting in the sheriff's face, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because sometimes I think as a community, we forget that the police department works for us. And so we have a fear of talking to them about their work or lack thereof, or even having any kind of conversation about it. And so I think it's important for us to keep that in mind when stuff like this happens, that they do work for you. And like she said, because it hurt everybody, she had a great experience. But I do know that there's been other families who hasn't had that same great experience, myself being included. I actually just had a meeting with the police yesterday still about the investigation of my nephew's death. And so we're still going through that. For Peyton though, and for you, I'm glad that experience for you was able to happen fast enough. But when you said you were more on forgiveness and not looking for justice, what put you in that kind of mind frame? Like, what made you go straight to forgiveness on that?
So going 2 years before Peyton's death, I started my own personal spiritual journey because I was tired of depending on humans for everything. I love everyone, but I need to depend on a higher power for my own peace of mind, right? So I started looking for myself. I started appreciating the small things, the small wins, when somebody isn't there for me, when I don't have what I need. I felt like God was always showing up for me. And I decided and I started building my own personal line of communication with God. And when Peyton got killed, the first thing that went through my mind when I saw, her injury was God is going to step in, and there's going to be something is going to. I felt like at the beginning that, maybe there's a doctor in the area and her life is going to be saved. But at the same time, even if that's not the case, I trust in God to provide for me 100%, just because of the different things that I experienced for that 2 years leading up to her murder. Like, I had a dream where someone told me that my mom was about to die and that Peyton was going to die too. And both of those things happened 6 months apart from each other. I couldn't do nothing but believe in God. I feel like sometimes the system is broken. I didn't know that the police were going to find the murderers. I didn't know that they were going to come apologize to me. I can't depend on these worldly experiences or these worldly resources to guide me in my time of need all the time. Because if I did, I might have, given up and taken myself out. If none of those things came through, like I would have been depending on him if I wasn't dependent on God.
Right. Yeah. Man. Wow. Yeah, that's heavy. Even the questioning of, like you said, my God, and then saying like you had such a strong faith that right when you seen the blood, you like, God gonna take care of this, Man, that's tough. But I'm glad you shared all this stuff. It's just I'm processing it, so I'm kind of getting stuck on my words because listening to you and then letting it go through my head, making it make sense, and then trying to, I'm a visionary. So then it's like, you stepping into the scene, you stepping into it, and it's like, it's just, man. I mean, you're just a strong woman. Jahi, I do want to ask you briefly just about, yeah, they said that's deep. Yeah. I do want to ask you briefly though, Jahi, about like the police normally, the handling of cases in the Black community, and how do you as a family, when this kind of stuff happened to you, what would be the best way as far as like having that communication or making sure that they're doing their job for your family when you have these tragic moments happen?
Every situation or circumstance is different. Like in her case, um, it was the weight of it was so tragic that the police as an institution and the community as a whole felt the weight of it. Because it was so tragic, and how they're sitting there as a family eating breakfast, man. You know, um, so everybody was just overwhelmed with the weight of it, of how it happened, and then also the senselessness, of the young man that did it. He didn't intend to do that, but his ignorance snuffed out her life, man. His ignorance outside. And it shows how they're different, particularly in our communities, brother. We have to be aware of the frequency of things and how his ignorance, both of all the whole group, those kids out there that day, how their ignorance had a ripple effect. And that frequency and that ripple went all the way into their house while they're supposed to be in the confines and the safety of their house, and snuffed out their life, man. And so, each circumstance is different,
Yeah.
And then there are circumstances where the police are the assailant,
Right.
and we're the victim. And then there are circumstances where we are mutilating each other.
And we got to hold each other accountable for those too. Yeah.
And so, it's going to vary, man, as far as dealing with the police. I'm not anti-police. I think the issue with the police is it has historically, the history of the police, the officer was actually the overseer on the plantation who guarded the property, which was us.
Yeah.
And so the history and the inception of the police is horrible.
Yeah.
But I also think that it reminds me of in Boston when the Irish were migrating into America. Before they weren't honorary white people at that particular time, and so they were abused and harassed by the police department. So what the Irish did is they infiltrated the police department. They joined it.
Yeah.
They became the police.
Yeah.
So I think that's
true.
one variable that we need to implement. Actually, man, Black police officers have shown to be some of the best police officers.
Yeah.
Black police officers don't shoot and kill white children.
Yeah.
Black police officers don't beat us up either and harass us, not in mass. And so, but every institution in America, brother, is going to have that poison of racism. You know what I mean? I don't know when we're going to cut it out of America, brother.
I don't know if it's going to ever be cut out because it's part of the foundation, like you said, with the history of how the police was started. So yeah, I do want to ask you though, Tabitha, being a voice for Peyton, you telling her story, how has that journey been, and what advice would you have for victims, or not even victims, or anybody who has a family tragedy, to be able to share and be the voice for their loved one without being exploited? And so I do want to ask you, like, how has your journey been, and dealing with, becoming the voice for Peyton? How has that been for you, and what advice would you give to a family to make sure they don't get exploited, or
It started off rough, obviously, right, with her murder, but it's been a wonderful journey since. And I can say that because I made the best decision I have ever made in my life in the worst circumstances I have ever experienced as a person, right? I chose at the time of her murder that I chose to take the pen out of the hands of the men that came into my life and change my story and write the rest of it the way that I needed to so that I could be comfortable in my own mental space, right? Ooh. They came in and they killed her. And I said, we're not going to deal with the pain that you decided to bring to my family for the rest of our lives. We're not going to have kids that grow up and decide to go out there and shoot the next person because you made the choice to hurt us, right? We're going to do everything we can in our power to pull them back out of that situation and help them look at it from a third person point of view so that they can see the pain that was caused on us doesn't need to be put on another family. I've been doing that as much as possible this entire time with these kids. And taking the kids through the journey takes some trial and error. But if you really want to heal, if that is really your mission and your goal, find your tools, find your path, and write your journey the way that you want to write your journey. I have complete control over the situation in my household as much as possible. You know, there's no guarantee that they're never going to go out there and hurt another person, but I've done my best to instill enough of a moral character in them to understand that this is not okay to hurt someone like this. And you didn't like it, so please don't do it to somebody else. But I took the pen, and instead of saying I'm going to be grieving for the rest of my life, I'm not going to be a completely functional adult for the rest of my life, I say, you know what? I'm going to be the survivor. I'm going to be the warrior. I'm going to be the champion in my story. And that's how I wrote it. So for anyone out there that's going through a loss, or has experienced a loss, especially for the victims that have been there and seen and experienced it firsthand, take your power back. Grab that pen and tell them you don't belong here. You're not supposed to be here. And give them back all the pain that they brought to you and say, this is yours. You handle it. You deal with this. I'm going to handle my sadness. I'm going to handle my depression. I'm going to handle my connection to God. I'm going to handle the things that you changed in me that are off center right now. I'm going to put them back where they go. And I don't ever want to see you again.
Wow. Yeah, I do want to ask you a question before we let what does healing look like for you? Healing for you. And then after that, I do want to ask you what would be a final message to mothers that's going through this, but I do want to talk about the healing process.
The healing looks like taking all that pain and making it work for the best of in your favor as much as possible. Healing looks like I went from suicidal ideations to sadness every once in a while, right? I went from constant triggers to, oh my God, I can't remember what my triggers are or what my triggers were, right? That I really have to sit down and think about. When I filled out some paperwork, I really had to sit down and think about what the triggers were. Healing looks like being able to list out your strength and your coping mechanisms almost instantly when someone asks you versus I can't figure it out because I'm stuck in this grief. Healing looks like being able to stand up and defend your kids when you need to, and also holding them accountable when you need to. It looks like recognizing when they're spiraling a little bit out of control. Hey, this isn't normal. This isn't you. Tell me what's going on, and sitting down and having a real conversation and figuring out where you need to step in to fix whatever is wrong. It looks like being able to it looks like being able to function as a normal adult and have real thought content and control of your emotions as much as possible, because that was the worst day of my life. Bad things have happened since, but they don't take control of me like that did. And I don't think anything can take control of me as much as that pain did.
Yeah. And Shonda, who's on here right now, she said, yes, I'm turning pain into power. She recently just lost her son to a suicide as well.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, her and Paulina. So, this is, man, you are providing this space for them to even come on here and feel comfortable talking and saying stuff. And like she said, Paulina said, she got something right away from just joining and listening to you. And so that message to the mothers, I do want to give you that. And then I want to show something before I let you go. But that message to the mothers, and I know sometimes I catch the slack again because I'm a big advocate for fathers being fathers. I don't believe in this a baby being born and then it's just all on the mom and then the dad got the option of whether he want to be there or not. That's ludicrous to me. When you help create a child, that you got an option to be a part of that child's life. But I think that for you, the message to the moms, not just the single moms, any moms, what message would you give them? Anything you want to say to them?
Message to the moms. No mom ever wants to experience the loss of a child, especially not in a violent act of murder. But yeah, healing is hard, but it's not impossible. I felt guilty in the beginning when I said I forgive you to Peyton's killers because I felt like I was allowing them to get away with murder. But as time went on, I realized that whether I forgave or not, there was nothing else that I could do to bring her back. And I realized that I could have control of my life back if I could find the space that I needed to breathe. I think that's one of the hardest things in the beginning that I went through was finding the space to breathe because the emotions, the thoughts, and the feelings kind of choke you out a little bit, and the nonstop tears, the uncontrollable nonstop tears, really take over everything. But every time you get a chance to have a conscious thought while you're in the middle of all of that grief, if you make it a goal to change one of the negative thoughts into something positive, and you keep going with that, you'll get the hang of it like you're riding a bike. Eventually, healing is possible.
Wow. Yeah, I really, really, really appreciate you coming on today. I do want to show something though. During my search and going through the stories, I mean, I guess I didn't realize how many videos and interviews and stuff you did until I
And
really dug. Man,
I
you
went
was
through too.
out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you was out there. That's why I said being a voice for your baby, your story, your perspective. This is what it's all about. And yeah, you was putting down some video after video after video. So I'm like, man, I went to do a search though, and I did the search looking for some images of Peyton, right?
Mm-hmm.
And during my search, when I finally found an image of Peyton, I clicked it. And I want to show y'all what came up here. Let's see this one right here. Okay. So of course you got all these images and people named Peyton. But when I clicked on this image of Peyton, right? Look at all the babies under there. See, this is a real issue in our community. 5-year-old shot in the foot. 3-year-old dies after being raped and beat. Missing, little girl right here missing. Find remains of a 3-year-old. 3-year-old Camille Cupcake. Just all these different stories. Kidnapping 3-year-old, 7-year-old fatally shot while sitting in the car. Like all of these images, age 3, 7, 5, 8-year-old girl shot in the head. Like this is real. Okay, it's not just Peyton. The Black community, our community, we're losing our babies by the dozen, and just pulling up her image brought up all these images and stories of little girls being murdered and different instances happening to them. And that's why it's important for you, Tabitha, here in Omaha, because this is all around the United States. Every one of these is different states. It's important for you, Tabitha, in Omaha to share and do what you're doing today and continue to tell Peyton's story, because it's happening so much. These mothers, it's a fraternity nobody want to be a part of. That's what my cousin Karen said. When you lose a child, that's the fraternity nobody wants to be a part of. And I just want to applaud you for coming on today, and all the interviews I found of you. I could put a collage of videos. You was going ham, okay? just for you to be able to do that, and here you are 12 years later, still speaking on your baby's name. I just want to say we love you. We appreciate you. Everybody in the chat been showing you love. Y'all continue to show her some love, some words of encouragement and appreciation. And like TT said, thank you for sharing, Tabitha. You appreciate it because even, you know, there's so many murders of our children. And a lot of the times the moms, they go into a shell, the fathers go into a shell, the families go into a shell. This is a never ending. Like I tried to scroll and read some of these stories. It's just so many. So yeah, I appreciate you, Tabitha, for coming on and doing this today.
Hold on before I go.
Yes, ma'am.
Before I go, I do want to say that one of the things that helps with, that makes me feel excited about the path that I chose is being able, I feel like our violence in Omaha is so low right now, the gun violence especially. The homicide rate has dropped significantly in Omaha. And I feel like I need to say thank you to the men that have put their guns down because you make the city feel safer by doing that. I feel like my kids can go outside at night now instead of pushing 9:30, 10 o'clock curfew. I feel like I can let them stay out till 11 or 12 now. And I feel like they'll make it home safe. So I do want to point that out too, that part of, I would definitely continue to the men that have been through so much that they feel like, sometimes the only option they have is to go out and take another person's life. I need to thank them for not making that choice, in the last couple of years, for choosing something different in the last couple of years. Yeah, I'm here. I'm right here. If anyone needs me, y'all know, Sherman, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm on Facebook with my real name. Y'all can reach out at any time, and I will try to walk anyone or talk anyone through anything that they need help with as much as possible.
Thank you. Yeah, we really appreciate that. Man, yeah, I'm getting some messages already from some moms. So you done sparked something, because I just checked my Facebook Messenger. I got some messages already. A lot of people saying thank you for having you on. So yeah, man, it's beautiful. So yeah, I'm gonna let you go. We're gonna wrap this up here in a little bit. Shonda says she wants your contact information. So yeah, I'll put y'all in touch with each other. You and Paulina, if that's something she want to do too. And yeah, like I said, it is a fraternity that nobody wants to be a part of, but it is necessary to talk about it and have that space to share and feel comfortable talking about it, because it's happening and ignoring it ain't gonna make it go away.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. All right, Tabitha. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Sherman.
Yep.
Nice seeing you, Robert.
Take care, sister.
All right.
Peace. Yeah. So yeah, man, Rob, man, that was heavy, bro. Talking to her about that. I did want to ask you a few questions before I let you go. That's why I let her go first, if that's okay with you. Because I want to know, like, from what you know about the gun violence, the family of the shooters, having to live and deal with the consequences of what their loved ones have done. Is there really a solution in the family that they can do preventative wise, or a way to address it, especially if they start noticing the signs? Like she had mentioned, you can start kind of noticing the signs of your child changing up. And so first, let's start with the consequences of the family having to deal with their child being the one that took a life.
Well, I think that I'm sure the weight of it, man, particularly, as I recall, man, the weight of it and the tragedy of it impacted everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that their family, and like she said, she spoke to the young man that was responsible.
Yeah, that was deep, bro. Man.
So one thing that I've experienced from being in the streets. When you hurt people, brother, and you take a life unjustifiably, you feel it. It's self-mutilating. However, there is a difference between killing and murder. Killing is the justifiable taking of life. Murder is unjustifiable taking of life.
Yeah.
And for example, in the 47 negative confessions of Ma'at, that we get that we draw the so-called 10 commandments from. There's actually originally 42, not 10. It says, thou shalt not murder, not thou shalt not kill. And actually, the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at that our ancestors would recite and live by, we would say, I have not I shall not. Because we were living by the moral code.
Right. Yeah. I do want to touch on this before we bounce. He kind of went right into actually what I was about to ask you. He said to not let me collect $100,000. I'm not on nonprofit dollars and pimp the community and pretend to mentor the youth, because he was talking about how we need more mentorship. And so I did want to ask you about the exploitation of the Black community, like the trauma of the exploitation of Black trauma in the community for nonprofit dollars. How do we prevent that? And then how do we address it? Because we know it's happening around the United States in all the Black communities.
Well, you know, I remember, brother, when she had posted on her social media about Roscoe's organization or his company or whatever, Viable Healing or whatever, using her circumstance as some kind of clout or attention getting. That got my attention, man. That was troubling. And she told him, don't use her daughter's situation for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I seen that, man. And, you know, his response was, don't slander him or whatever. And we probably need to have a discussion with him if that's the case.
Right.
What has happened, brother, is there's an entire market of shoelace grifters making money off of our suffering. There's a market now.
Yeah, it's a lucrative business for sure.
You know, and most of them are a bunch of talking boxes. Okay. What I don't understand about, you know, organizations such as that, how are you going to heal people using Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, Pavlov? All of those individuals, brother, who are supposed to be the so-called fathers of psychology. The word psychology comes from the ancient Kemetic root meaning psyche, which means the soul. But European Western psychology has nothing to do with the soul. It's about having a constant motif of you are a constant victim. You are a victim forever. For example, if you go to an AA class, a guy come in there and say, hi, my name is Ray, and I'm an alcoholic, and I haven't had a drink for 17 years. When does Ray arrive? If you haven't had a drink for 17 years, you're no longer an alcoholic. You don't need to attend the meetings anymore. But notice that he comes and he says that he announces himself as this constant, perpetual victim. Okay? And that comes from the pseudoscience of psychology, Western psychology, where Jung and Sigmund Freud and Skinner and all these people who, by the way, personally, They were social engineers who were skull fucking the public. They were drug addicts, pedophiles, and enemies of the general public.
Mm.
And then we're going to draw from these people and talk about healing people? Not only that, brother, Caucasian people are the most psychologically neurotic collective group of people on the planet Earth. How are they going to heal us?
Mm. Well, yeah. So how do you think we prevent this stuff from happening? How do we prevent, like she was talking about, telling her story, and then you said you seen the post. How do we prevent any exploiting, like from people in our, or exploiting the Black community? Because I know it's a lucrative business. Our children going to secondary schools is lucrative. The filling up the jails, the ADHD medicine, all the stuff that they've done, you know, to make money off of the Black community, as far as the way this system is set up. How do we prevent that kind of stuff from happening?
One of the things, brother, that we have to do is we have an epidemic of manhood, okay? And we have to be men, and we have to hold people accountable without apology, okay? Now, if Roscoe was using her circumstance, then we need to have a conversation with Roscoe about that, okay?
Well, Roscoe is in the chat. He just said, what have I done to her? See, this is hateful shit. When you continue a narrative and don't know the situation, what you doing, Jahi? What are you talk? What you do is talk. I'm out here saving kids every day. You talk. Sherman, if you want to orchestrate this mess, invite me to defend my position, or are you just looking for a mess? Well, actually, I'm not looking for a mess. You got my phone number. The conversation was about her, and if the post was seen, I mean, we're entitled to speak about things that were done publicly. So it's not like this video is private that you can't see. So good thing you seen it. You got my phone number just like I got yours. And if you feel like it needs to be a conversation had about the post that she made, you probably should have talked to her about that. But if you want to have a conversation with me about me hosting her and then having him on the show, and he seen a post and he brought it up that she accused you of something, then you can talk to me about that. It's not about acting like it's truth. The truth is that he seen the post, and that's the truth. Whether the post was true or not, in her eyes, she felt like it was true enough to mention it publicly. And so since it was mentioned publicly, then we can talk about it publicly on my fucking show. Okay. So that's what we could do. Didn't the mom say that Roscoe did stuff? I didn't think it was Sherman in that. Then that's it. No, I didn't say it. She said it. But it's still, we could talk about it. You know, it don't make it not able to be talked about because you don't like that she said it. She said it. She didn't bring it up, but you know, she said it publicly on Facebook, and so it was seen publicly by a few people. It's just not everybody has any kind of courage to speak on what they seen or saw or what's going on in our community. So again, Robert, the question was just about how to prevent it. And then we're gonna close out because I need to bring up to my next episode of what we're gonna be talking about.
Well, not only that, brother, okay? I don't just talk, I do. And I will do and say what the fuck I want to say too, okay? Now, she said that on her social media page about you. I read it and I recited it again, okay? Now, you have a problem with that, that's your problem. Why is she even saying it? That's the operative question. Is she lying on you? Guilty horses always flinch, don't they?
Yeah. He said, I'm confused on why you only came in for this part. Yeah. And Roscoe said, why didn't we ask her about it? Because it wasn't a conversation of a topic.
Well,
Why you wait until she leaves?
Why is he defending himself?
I know how to defend myself, brothers. Yeah, I mean, the conversation was about her and Peyton. When I asked Robert about preventing it and she talked about exploitation, then yeah, he mentioned the post that he seen, but it still just wasn't, the whole conversation was nothing about you. So, I mean, that's just what it is, bro.
Well, brother, she posted that on her social media about him.
Yeah.
So is she lying on you? That's the operative question. Is she a liar?
Well, he said I defended myself with her, and I'll defend my position with both of you. Don't fuck with me. Talk nigga, you got my attention. Okay. Yeah.
Well, notice, brother, he didn't answer the question. I asked you, is she lying on you? Is she a liar? That's the operative question. Is she lying on you? It's not about defending yourself. See, you're not defending yourself. It sounds like you're deflecting. Because the operative question is, she's lying or she's telling the truth.
He said he being patient with her mental. He ain't done nothing to her, and my organization done nothing to her. So yeah, I think that's something you're gonna have to clear up with her. If she feel that way, then it's something you would have to clear up with her.
Brother, he still didn't answer the question, did he?
Oh, he just did. He said, yes, she is.
So she's lying. Okay.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's gonna be something that you're gonna have to take up, but I'm sure that you know, if y'all have that conversation in private, that's fine. But again, if something is posted on social media and somebody sees it, that don't mean it's off limits for us to talk about, and we can talk about whatever we want to talk about. So,
and not only that, brother, when did his makeshift so-called organization start solving major problems around here?
Yeah.
Since you're listening in,
yeah.
What do you actually do? Sit in a circle with some Sigmund Freud feel good tragedy bullshit, compile data and numbers. Listen here, brother. Listen here, brother. Check this out, brother. A numeral is a symbol. A number is an idea. Okay? Brother, do you realize that I can take numbers and prove that a dancing bear will be on 30th and Ames every first Thursday of the month? I can prove that with numbers. And so what we have here, brother, is we got these new shoelace grifters. They got a new hustle. They're the best dressed fucking grifters I've ever seen in my life. Hell, matter of fact, brother, I think that I have more respect for the people who stand on the median with a cardboard sign begging. And if you're making money off our problems, you are the problem. And since she's supposed to be a liar, why you didn't call her to be a liar when she posted it on her social media page in the beginning? You didn't call her a liar then. And why do we have to bring it to the point wait a minute, brother, is she lying or telling the truth? And why is she the problem? Not him.
Yeah. So yeah. Didn't expect that turn, but it's okay. It's all good. It's all good.
And why do you need to defend yourself? You didn't do nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
he come out with a cookie cutter hustle. All y'all doing the same grifting. Making money off our problems. And the problem's still here. Going to court. And not only that, brother, I haven't seen any of these so-called organizations. They all seem to be aligned with the fucking police who murder us.
Mm. Yeah, you know.
I ain't heard none of them say nothing about Janini being murdered.
Mm-mm.
I haven't heard any of them or any of these cookie cutter, I got some data, I got some numbers. Master cut me a check. I ain't heard his organization or any of these organizations say anything about 4 black men being murdered by the goddamn police and the sheriff's department. You got any danger for Sheriff Hanson's racist ass? What you got to say to him? Who rehired, Sheriff Hanson rehired a murderous cop and put him on the payroll. What the fuck does his organization have to say about that? Is he gonna say anything publicly about that? I ain't heard nothing come out of your mouth about that.
Mm.
But we're gonna sit up here and have a conversation about a black woman who lost her child. And she's gotta be a liar. Isn't Sheriff Hanson a liar? Didn't he lie about murdering Janini in his front yard? We ain't got the footage yet. And I didn't hear Roscoe or any of these makeshift Band-Aid ass cookie cutter organizations with their data. I ain't heard none of them request the goddamn video footage of the murder.
Mm. Well,
and they seem to be picking a side here, don't they, brother? What side are you niggas on?
Yeah, so this could go on forever, I guess. Yeah, I don't need to call you. You got my number. I don't give a fuck about what you're saying. If you got an issue with me, you can call me. Like I said, this is my show. It came up. You making it more of an issue because the show was not about you at all, but your name came up because of we talking about exploitation and somebody happened to see a post. Okay, so I don't need to call you, but if you feel like you need to talk to Jahi, you can call. Yeah, or you can just meet up somewhere and y'all can talk. You know. But again, the show is about Peyton and Tabitha, and we let her go because I wanted to ask him these questions. And then here we go now.
And what do you
I want to make sure.
What's that supposed to mean? You still yapping? What, you gonna make me shut up?
Mm.
Yeah, that's not possible.
Yeah. So yeah, we're
not
gonna
in
wrap.
person either.
Mm.
Yeah, that's not possible. So you can dial back that tough guy talk language, brother. You know me. Everybody does.
Yeah, and so yeah, we about to be out of here. I do want to let y'all know the next episode we're gonna be talking about signs of a child becoming distant and understanding the new program that our children face. And so I have some stuff that I usually do for the gang seminar I do with the Black Agenda Alliance, but I want to do it in a video form so that way people can go back and listen to some of the messages and stuff that we've collected, not just only through experience of ourselves, but family experience. But yeah, before we go, Jahi, I'm gonna let you have your final word on this topic, and then we're gonna get on up out of here. And again, I appreciate you for co-hosting. You know, anytime you want to, you can join me. I just felt it was when I did talk to Tabitha, she talked about you being there for her. So that's why I wanted to have you on here. And then she did mention, like, you know, y'all was calling and talking to each other for months, trying to help her get through that. And so I appreciate you, brother, for doing that. I've never heard it. It was never nothing publicly said that you did that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you doing that for her and being there for her. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. This is one of my good childhood friends. We love you. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate it. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa Crawford said, great show. Yeah, Roscoe, yeah, you're gonna have to talk to him because you got a lot to say on online. So yeah, I think you probably should just say it to him personally if you got something to say. If you got something to say to me, my number ain't changed. It's 402-968-5012. And yeah, I'm not going to entertain Twitter fingers when in person it's not that same energy, okay? Because I'm not the one or the two. So yeah, we're gonna get on up out of here. Appreciate y'all, but Jahi, your final words, brother.
Brother, first of all, brother, okay, we're gonna be men without apology, okay? And the sister said what she said on her social media page. That's her espousing something publicly. She said that. And as a man, I'm going to respond to it. And I don't give a fuck what he think about it. Now, if he want to talk to me in person, I ain't hiding. I'm here. And you better fucking behave yourself in person too. The sister said what she had to say, and as a man in this community, I'm going to back her up. If she said that you are exploiting her situation, that's what she said. And as a man, you're going to have to prove to me that she is a liar. That's what you're going to have to do. I'm a man in this community. If the sister said that and you, oh, she's a liar. Why you didn't call her a liar on social media? Why are you deflecting? Why are you defending yourself? Not only that, if she said that, why you didn't address it with her? Were you worried about us men shoring up the situation and having a conversation about it? And we're gonna back the sister up. I'm gonna back her up. Now, what you gonna do about it? I'm gonna back her up.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah, people is definitely upset. So we're gonna end it. But again, these are the kind of conversations we have to have. If people feel like it's slander or it's hurting their name, do your own live, talk about it on your own time, do your own thing. But don't think you're gonna come on here and control the narrative. And when I see you in person, then we can talk about that in person, which I've suggested several times if you feel like you got an issue with me personally. Okay. All right, y'all. Peace and hair grease in the Middle East, and I will see y'all next time. All right, brother.
Hotep, brother.
Much love. Yes, sir.